I can't speak for anyone else, but I enjoyed the recent roguelike craze. A number of games offer their own spin, with many going on to be beloved for one reason or another. To me, it is a genre that embraces some of my favorite aspects of gaming, such as trying to figure out a dynamic puzzle to overcoming unpredictable challenges. The latest game to try their luck at this genre is Yasha, Legend of the Demon Blade. With 3 stories to complete, plus further post-game challenges, is it the next Hades, or is it better off being sent there? Yasha's narrative is rather unique. They are not quite separate stories, though they're not intertwined either. Like, each journey concludes with a fight against the nine-tailed fox with a wide variety of different interactions along the way. It takes 3 complete runs to finish a character's story, with each story generally adding further context on each run. This ranges from the same background characters to revealing new things about each boss. Several stories also reveal pivotal plot points about the others, even if the story is more so concerned with the specific character dealing with their own situations. I'd also love to say more, except there isn't a lot of story content. The amount obviously fluctuates, so I'm going to do some sloppy math. You figure there's an opening, usually something for beating each of the 6 bosses, plus the conclusion. I recorded 2 scenes on auto, which came to 3 minutes and 54 seconds, so let's keep it simple and round that to 4. Since there are basically 8 sections, that comes to 32 minutes. Each story has 3 chapters, resulting in about 100 minutes of story per character. Obviously, that figure assumes you use auto. Without that, you could probably half the overall total. It just isn't a lot of time to establish their personality, standing, ambitions, and overall goals. Especially when these scenes are also trying to flesh out the boss's world and nine-tailed fox itself. Beyond the overall approach, I appreciate the stories have a different tone. For example, Sarah felt like it was going for the same humor found in a Nippon Ichi software game. That said, these scenes are not voiced and for some reason lack impact. I don't know if it's the OST, approach to the character models, limited ambient voices, or all the above. What I can say are several scenes just feel like they are missing something. Take these scenes from Shooter Ray's second chapter. The transformations are just off. I tried adding the laugh from Code Z since I had some videos laying around, and I think it adds a lot more to the scene. Where things get odd is other sections have some of these elements, so it feels more like a choice than a strict budget limit, but I can say it just doesn't hit the same as other experiences. Take this scene from Phantom Brave. It just feels so much more engaging, which is a shame as it makes these relatively short scenes drag. On a basic level, Yasha has solid gameplay. There are light and heavy attacks, coupled with a skill, parry, and dodge. All of these things can be further enhanced, either by altering how the weapon works or outright increasing its overall potency. To further this, there are several different weapons. Each weapon has a unique design, intriguing gimmick, and its own specific perks. Now, if you watch my Code Z review, you know that suffered largely from negative RNG-based outcomes. Here, almost everything is positive, with not a lot of variance. Most runs I can chase after specific perks. There are something like 5 perks per weapon, with the ability to select 1 of 3 after each stage. This makes the chance to get the desired perk fairly likely, at least enough where you can chase after a specific build and almost always get it. It also doesn't help that some of the choices are both laughable and poorly explained. This is probably best understood by the one run where I got offered 30% health or 40% health and 10% less damage talismans. I am not entirely sure how this is much of a choice. I mean, trading 10 for 10 is not great, but it also isn't set up in a way where the value is easily understood. Based off my health at the time, it is a question of whether I want 15 or 20 HP. Damage is obviously a lot harder to calculate. The highest I was hitting prior to that point was 416, so I can't imagine 5 HP beats 41 damage. Long term, it is like I was literally offered 1 extra hit in exchange for having to hit the boss another 20 times. Admittedly, things like this, or critical value, which is the term they use to describe damage, doesn't actually matter. I say this because the experience is pretty easy. I was able to beat 2 of the characters on their first try with the base weapon and no permanent upgrades. Even later runs were bested more often than not. This is largely thanks to it being easy to stack damage and win, or simply exploiting certain mechanics. For instance, I love boosting my health in exchange for amount healed, as it offered more advantages long term. Plus, if things got dicey towards the end, I could opt for shielding. Shields act as a one-time health replacement, which would not be negatively impacted by these perks. Plus, this is a good way to maintain things like extra damage at low or full health. Beyond that, it doesn't help that the experience is rather bland. There are some slight variations, though overall most runs will be the same. You'll want the same perks, with locations and fights being largely identical, with there being no boss variety. Even across the 3 characters, it is all the same. Later runs add shields and a few other bumps, but overall it is a very static experience. It is less of a roguelike experience and something closer to having an incredibly short game with a small pool of variables. It really isn't bad per se, it just doesn't help that each run is rather short. Not counting story, a full run can be completed in 20 minutes, do this 8 more times and there's about 3 hours of gameplay. Long term there are challenges, plus further upgrades to help overcome the additional difficulty, though these superficial things will only appeal to a limited number of people. At least I don't find dodging less often or enemies having over 1,200% more health interesting. All these little shortcomings are a shame, as I don't think Yasha is an experience without heart. Several of the cutscenes have amazing art, not to mention a really exciting opening. It just feels like the focus was put in the wrong place. Or perhaps the issue was chasing a trend where the core experience would be better in a more traditional format. At least, it isn't much of a roguelike if the biggest difference between runs is being whether your ramen boosts attack or health. Before getting to the conclusion, I wanted to briefly touch on price. I don't like bringing up price, but I'm making an exception here because Yasha is a unique situation. It originally released for 30 USD, though roughly a week after release, the Steam version was dropped down to 14. I waited until Tuesday to write this review, as that is usually when the stores are updated, with PlayStation and Switch versions remaining at 30. For those on either platform, I would suggest waiting for the $14 price. The same will also hold true for the upcoming Xbox version, though that assumes it will retain the higher MSRP. Yasha really isn't a bad game, it just doesn't offer much in terms of value. The story is short and certainly doesn't stand out. Gameplay is fun, though it's incredibly shallow for a roguelike adventure. All of this, coupled with some weak choices, make it a hard sell. I could personally see being satisfied at the $10 mark, but at $30 I suggest picking up something else like Claire Expedition instead. Or if you want to stick with the roguelike genre, Hades or Enter the Dungeon are much better choices for about the same cost of entry. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, and for more content, please subscribe.